Mayor Stevens Mokgalapa says he has nothing to do with the awarding of tenders. That's after a Sunday newspaper reported that he flouted the rules by not reporting a Huawei-sponsored trip to China as the city issued a R1 billion smart city tender. He says that report is not true and is full of inaccuracies.
Not at all. The mayor, according to the Municipal Finance Management Act, doesn't get involved in any of the supply chain management processes and the bid processes. So I am totally not involved in this, and there is no such tender as a R1 billion tender. The tender that is out was issued on the 29th of July, which is about development and maintenance of a public safety solution to the city, which is closing on the 28th of August, and the date, I'm informed, has been extended to the 13th of September. It is a public open tender, which the mayor does not have anything to do with, and it's for 26 million for a period of 3 years, and not 1 billion, as has been reported falsely.
Get reaction to that story and bring in EFF Gauteng Provincial Chairperson Mandisa Mashego, who's with me in studio this afternoon. Mandisa, very good afternoon to you. So the ANC in Tshwane is saying something sinister happened with Stevens Mokgalapa and this trip to Huawei headquarters in China, him not declaring that, and then the subsequent issuing of the smart cities tender. What is the EFF's understanding of what's gone on in Tshwane?
Look, unfortunately, our chairperson, who's the party leader, they couldn't make it today due to other operational work that he had to attend to. But the reality is that the EFF does not get involved in any supply chain processes. And to try to constantly drag us into them is really mischievous. But nonetheless, I've checked with the team in Tshwane, and as far as they know, they're not aware of any R1 billion tender, but nonetheless, as I've said, we don't get involved. What the DA needs to do is to clean up their act. We can't constantly be getting dragged into, DA drama wherever they are governing. We are not co-governing with the DA. We are not in a coalition. That is what co-governance is. And in fact, we've stated very clearly, except in exceptional circumstances and very special situations, the EFF will not be voting, with either the DA nor the ANC. And we are in a good position to say that because, remember, we didn't sign any coalition agreement. We didn't go into coalition with the DA nor anybody else. And that is why there's not a single MMC, nor mayor, or anybody in a controlling and authority position in any of the municipalities where the EFF has, in fact, voted with opposition. There's a perpetual obsession with linking us with the DA. We voted with opposition parties in all hung municipalities. It's not just where the municipalities are hung and the DA is governing. That just so happens to be the case in Gauteng, because the DA was then the party in those municipalities that were hung, 3 of them, Johannesburg, Tshwane, as well as Mogale in 2016, that became hung.
The big political battle, of course, in Tshwane is currently between the DA, which is in charge, and the ANC. Every few weeks we hear some new development between those two parties, and I have to ask, to what extent all of that drama has been a distraction, if not a complete hindrance, to the functioning of the city?
Look, I think that I cannot speak on behalf of either of those parties, but just observing the behavior of the ANC, even the very messy, untidy attempt they had the other day of removing the mayor in Johannesburg and then just withdrawing from it without any sort of logical, rational explanation, must tell you that you're dealing with a party here that is obsessed with being in state power and having state control, because precisely of these situations with the tenders, because, we've stated many times that we do not want the tender system in the state, and we actually want to see it abolished gradually, of course, because there are some projects that when you come into government, you cannot wish them away immediately. However, it's possible to abolish the state tender system on a gradual basis, starting with, basic things such as the labor broking system, which also goes out out on tender, but that actually has another effect of impoverishing workers, a result that you actually don't want, because when you look at the economic impact of putting more money in the pockets of individual workers versus the economic impact of putting more money in you or somebody else who owns a company that has a tender through the state, it's incomparable. The reality is that you'll have greater economic impact and you'll have lesser poverty where workers get more money in their pockets through salaries as opposed to the labor broking. So the ANC are just hell-bent on, creating dysfunction and creating fictional things that really don't exist, to the extent of wasting everyone's time by pushing motions that they have not calculated. The truth is, before you advance any motion that you want to be voted for, you must first check and balance your numbers. So we are dealing with a very irrational party. On the side of the DA are not sure of themselves. I mean, this same mayor in Tshwane, we've just about had enough of them, because the same mayor in Tshwane not so long ago was involved in some fracas of approving salaries, ridiculous salaries, for people in management, when we keep saying we want pro-poor policies.
I want to come in there and ask you this, because Stevens Mokgalapa, even when he arrived this year, came in on the back of a lot of controversy from Solim Simanga, who had now been moved as the DA's premier candidate for Gauteng. There was the appointment of Maritha Oukamp and various other people under Simanga, which was found to be irregular. Mokgalapa then, of course, quickly finding himself at the center of a new wave of allegations. Do you, as the EFF today, see him as a good and competent mayor for the city of Tshwane?
Look, what I'm saying is precisely the point, that both the ANC and the DA, and that's really the picture I'm trying to paint for you, is that both of them are just finding themselves in a perpetual crisis of obsession with governing. Let me tell you why sometimes coalitions are better. No one needs to have an absolute majority. It creates way too much, potential for corruption and actual corruption. What you want are sober-minded people who are in a co-governing arrangement. And currently, we don't know whether the DA's arrangement in Tshwane with their other co-governing political parties is actually going to work for us, and we're going to work for poor people. We had that crisis with Soli, where he couldn't do simple things like change lights in the townships. He couldn't do simple things like build roads, and make sure that the Winterveld, infrastructure crisis comes to an end. The water crisis in Hammanskraal and every other township, he just couldn't get it together. And now we are sitting with this guy, Stevens, who also seems to be walking from crisis to crisis. But of course, as you know, the ANC, might be a much bigger crisis than them, of course, because of the rampant corruption that follows them everywhere they govern, including the province. You see the crisis they are sitting with now, where they can't even decide whether or not to remove more men or add more men, a simple thing like that, which tells you that the only obsession they have is being in power, not delivering, not bringing about the radical change that we need desperately in Gauteng to get more jobs for poor black people.
Let me ask you then a possibly naughty question on what I understand is your birthday. Do you think that this whole drama could have been avoided had the DA gone with the EFF proposal to have one of your guys lead the city of Tshwane?
Look, I mean, it was not about Tshwane, as you know. It was about the entire arrangement, because like I said, we had a voting arrangement with them, even in other municipalities where we supported IFP, they did the same, and we supported, I think, Forum for Service Delivery in Northwest, and we did the same. And so it's not about that. So those discussions happened at national level, and they continue to happen at national level. I don't know, I was not part of those discussions, but I can only guess that ongoing arrogance, that the DA, the white-led DA, which is a perpetual problem, in fact, with white leadership in South Africa, whether you look at corporate and whatever. They never want to engage properly with black people. It's always about, patronizing the other party. We can't be patronized and we can't be undermined. And I think they've learned that the hard way. So there's nothing we can do. Everything will be a case-by-case basis, as it has already been stated by National. But they need to get it together fast.
I'm told we need to wrap it because we're terribly out of time. But
Thank you
so much for your time.
Thank you.